Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Member Spotlight with Marlborough Regional Chamber of Commerce. My name is Rob Schlachter, and today we are thrilled to have a longtime member and a very active part of the Chamber of Commerce, I might add, Councilor Bill Brewin, who joins us. Bill, welcome. Happy February.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you to the Chamber for having me.
You bet. So you've been a longtime resident of Marlborough and a practicing attorney here. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Like you said, I grew up in Marlborough, had a wonderful experience here in my youth, and went to law school at Boston College, got out and then worked in Boston. And while I was working, I picked up my master's in taxation at Boston University. And in around 1987, I decided to open my own practice. Came out to Marlborough in September of 1988. And at that point, first thing I did, believe it or not, was join the Chamber of Commerce. And it was just a wonderful investment to get to know people. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, I just got involved. And I joined numerous basketball groups. I got involved with the Marlborough Boys Club, got on their board of directors. I was fortunate to get involved with Mary Lou Vanzini and the Citizen Scholarship Foundation, and I did the legal work to set that up. And it was just, immersing myself in all things Marlborough. And it really, was, I just enjoyed it. I just enjoyed the whole community. And gradually just built up my practice, worked hard, got to know more and more people, and it was just the referral set up at that point. Right. And it was very, very enjoyable for me, and I just felt that Marlborough, that decision to move to Marlborough was a great decision. One of the areas that I started concentrating is in estate planning, doing wills and et cetera. And the way I looked at that, it was representing people at all stages of their lives, mm-hmm. Beginning with maybe as a youth or as a young person buying their first condo, getting married, having children, doing a will and a trust for their children, explaining what a power of attorney is, their need for a healthcare proxy, and then dealing with their purchase, say, of their first home, having them, maybe move to a second home, maybe either husband or wife setting up a business, working with them on setting up their business and any employment agreements or any other lease issues that come up when you start to own a business.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So over the course of time, since you've been practicing, especially when the pandemic hits, what parts of your practice did you notice grew or decreased pre and post pandemic?
So that's a matter of some things increase and now have decreased. For instance, real estate transactions, refinances. If you recall, rates dropped to 3%. Refinances just boomed. And now with rates going up to 6-7%, that area has diminished quite a bit. But during the course of the pandemic, the thoughtfulness or people with the pandemic going on, that they needed a will. They needed to set in place their healthcare proxy. They had parents that were, they were concerned about, and what their issues were. Do they need to rewrite their will? Do they need to plan for a nursing home? These are the things that sort of increased during the pandemic. Sure. And just made myself available. Actually, it was still a good time for businesses that adjusted properly. And it was a good time, obviously, to sell your house and even probably a good time to sell your business. Right.
So you touched on estate planning, and I think there's a myth out there that estate planning is only for people who have large amounts of wealth. Can you talk a little bit about why it's so important for people in general to think about that?
Absolutely. It's the number one concern is primarily, your young children. If you have young children, who's your guardian? Who takes care of the finances through a children's trust? So those are really, really important things to consider. Then it's just sitting down with an attorney, talking about these the documents, will, power of attorney, healthcare proxy, but talking over your assets. And that's been another major change over the years. One of the biggest portion of people's assets now is their retirement plans, their IRAs, their 401ks. And they have to, start thinking about how they, set forth their schedule of beneficiaries. And obviously, husband and wife. Husband's going to name wife. Wife's going to name husband. And traditionally, they would name their children. Right. It might be more of an issue with a single person. How you allocate that among your nieces, nephews, siblings. So those are issues that get brought up. But the big point is you want to make things easy for your family members in case something happens to you. For instance, if you're say over age 75, you may want to already prearrange your funeral at a funeral home, sign a contract for that. So that makes life easy. Right. If you have my pet peeve now is if you have small shares of stock because you had a life insurance with MetLife or Hancock, and you have 20 shares of MetLife, probably it's best idea to sell those just so your children don't have to deal with all the paperwork and the administration.
And this is all covered under estate planning. Okay.
Making life easier for people to transition their assets to their children or whoever they want the assets to go to.
So you talked just a second ago about selecting an attorney. Now, besides you, of course, what do you recommend when people do need an attorney? How do you go about selecting the right attorney?
I think that's the number one thing you're looking for is, does that person think the same way you do? Is it somebody that you can communicate with and also get a hold of? Those are things that are very important. And I've been very fortunate because I've been out doing community activities, meeting people, and most people that come into my office have already met me or know me, and there's a comfort level. There's the easiest thing is to go on an attorney's website and see what their background is and so forth. Obviously, it helps for people to see a person on cable TV, just to get a sense, is that person somebody I would feel comfortable talking about these important issues? And obviously, confidentiality is supreme. Nothing gets out of the office, and that's very important also.
Right. So you have been, you mentioned, very active in the chamber and in particular giving back a lot to the community. So what is that based on and what's your philosophy moving forward?
The chamber is just sort of a gateway to, contribute and get to know the community and get to know other wonderful people that are active in the community. And the events are great. You network. You just find out what's going on, and it's like the heart pumping in the community. It just gets you in the middle of things, and I think that's the real benefit. Sometimes it gets tough to describe, but when you're involved and you're doing it, it's wonderful. Right. And the other thing, just getting, in my case, getting involved in sports. I think you and I met at the old...
I wasn't going to bring it up, but it's a long time ago.
The Barnyard Basketball League.
That's right.
You were the star. I remember. So
well, you were a key point guard. Okay. I must say that. But we really do appreciate everything you've given back to the community, including the library project and all that you do in town, and appreciate you sharing some insight in terms of attorneys in general and continued success. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much, Rob. Okay. Nice to be here.